The Ultimate Sports Barkada introduces you to the sport of longboarding through the members of the Philippine longboarding team. And they'll also share their experiences when they competed in Australia for the Newton's Playground World Championships.
When there's nothing to eat, and it's hard to eat when you don't have the teeth. And how when you lose the one thing you love, there's nothing below and there's nothing above.
It's probably one of the oldest forms of skateboarding. When they invented skateboards, they basically just took surfboards and put wheels on them. So over the years, they've actually become smaller. Longboarding, it's pretty much it's skateboarding, but with longer boards. It's very different. It's not the same as trickboarding where you're grinding rails, where you're throwing up into pools. It tends to be much more, I don't know, elegant, I guess. I mean, it's much more like dancing when you're cruising on a longboard. The first organized race was actually by Aloha Board Sports, no? Sector 9. So these were the guys selling the surfboards, and they noticed that people were getting more and more interested in the board. So they put on a push race.
Just as there are many different disciplines of longboarding, there are also different kinds of longboards. So I guess you can divide it into maybe 2 or 3. So the first would be the downhill specific boards. So these are the boards that are built for speed. Basically, like these boards, they're stiffer, so they don't have any flex. So they remain stable like in speed. Other boards that are usually used for just carving around or tricks or freestyle. An example of this would be this. Like this is the loaded dancer. So as you can see, it's a pretty long board. This one has a lot of flex, so it's more lively when you skate around with it. And I guess like a third variant would be like the mini boards, which are the shorter longboards. It's closer to the usual skateboards that you see around.
A longboard basically has 3 main components that it's comprised of. No? So you've got the deck. This is the wooden, well, usually it's wood, but there are a number of materials that they use. They can use bamboo. In this case, they used carbon fiber. You've got the deck, then you've got the trucks. They're called the trucks, but it's more easily identified as the axles. And then you've got the wheels. The wheels, what make longboarding different from, the traditional concept of a skateboard, which is used for half-pipe ramps or for doing tricks in the street. These wheels are different in that they're a lot softer than the hard trickboard wheels. So by being soft and with a little bit more bounce, you get a lot more roll for every push.
First thing is a helmet. For general cruising and just skating around, what would be best would be a bucket helmet. So this is the bucket helmet. It's a half shell, so well, we recommend this, of course, like, before you even get a board, get a helmet first. For downhill, on the other hand, you go with a full face helmet. Aside from that, you could go with the normal like pads for skating around, knee pads and elbow pads, and gloves. Gloves are really important. Because gloves, you use them to put your hands down when you need to stop. And of course, like for downhill, like a leather racing suit would be best, but it's actually required like in racing abroad.
You can get a very basic model for about probably 8,000-9,000 pesos complete. As you start to progress and as you start to discover what particular kind of riding you want to do, you're going to want to probably upgrade. It can set you back as high as even $1,000, maybe 50,000 pesos. It's actually not necessary. I mean, you only need to spend probably less than 20,000 and you got a really, really good board. And in the end, it's not the equipment. It's really just the riding.
You guys went to the Newton's Playground World Championship last November in Australia. How was your experience in it?
Painful. The commentator said that, was commenting. He's a Canadian guy. He was saying that the hay bales are like bricks. I was in the bales a few times, and I ended up in the hospital for a while with suspected neck injury. But what happened was I tore most of my muscles in my neck and my shoulder, or got them strained pretty badly. But yeah, for a while, I hit the bales at about 70 kph, and it really makes you think about this sport. But otherwise, it was a great experience.
We really didn't know what to expect, because we'd be racing just here in Manila, and these guys have been doing it for years, so we really didn't know what the competition was going to be like. I qualified 10th, and then I finished 18th, which I guess is pretty good, like, given that it was our first race, like, national race.
We're actually now working with the IGSA to come up with a Philippine event. So, personally, I think all of us would like to see the World Cup held in the Philippines, say, by 2012, if ever. It's almost like you're looking at Winter X Games and then trying to bring that to the Philippines where Pinoys can join.
That does it for this week's episode of Ultimate Sports Barkada. I'm Bill Velasco. Join us again next week to meet more of your greatest sports heroes. In the meantime, why don't you text us and let us know who's your ultimate? Do it!